Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. Okay, let's do this. All right, this is for Clementine and Otis. All right, so shout out today to our sponsors, Crush Organics. They're the purveyors of the finest CBD oils and topicals. I really think long and hard about who I want to be affiliated with, and I'm so stoked to embark on a new affiliation with Crush Organics and advocate for the use of CBD. It's just the raddest product, and it's all natural. So go and do the research yourself. The health benefits are unquestionable. And there's no psychoactive agents that must, you must know that, because it's often, there's a bit of a negative association there, but it's a great product. It's done so much for me, especially during times of stress and anxiety. It's improved the quality of my sleep and sped up my recovery time, especially post-workout. And like I said, it's all natural, so I feel great for using it. It's improved my immune function as well, I reckon. So go to Crush Organics, that's KRUSHORGANICS.com. And THT listeners will get a huge 40% discount at checkout when you use the code THT. So thank you, Crush Organics. I'm so stoked, and thanks for the oils. Indosol, as always, literally the best environmentally friendly footwear company on the market. Their sandals are made from recycled motor vehicle tyres. They look rad, and they're all made under the Patagonia B Corp ethical manufacturing certification. So head over to indosol.com, that's INDOSOLE.com, and use code THT at checkout and become a conscious consumer.
You!
Yes, Weave. Let's go.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks.
Yeah, good to be you, man. Whoa.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Alright, do this.
Today's guest is Weave. Weave is a designer, disco dancer, and director of the fashion and design label by Weave Collection and Ukiyo. Her innate passion, sincerity, and lifelong journey to conceptualise and create beautiful garments is profoundly obvious. This week, I'm so blessed to have Weave with me live to share her journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Weave, welcome.
I'm the one that's blessed to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I'm so stoked. Do you reckon that traffic noise is okay? Is it ambient noise?
It's quite cute.
It is quite cute. I'm going to shut the window. Awesome.
You'll still
Thanks.
hear it.
That's a bit better. Yeah, no, I love the little space you have. Describe it to us.
Well, it's actually really something that came to me spontaneously because I was over in the States for some time and I came back to sort out a visa, and I'd kind of said goodbye to the Central Coast and got back here, and then COVID hit. So I was very blessed that some friends of mine that own the cafe downstairs, like mine's, and the lady had moved out, a few weeks before I arrived home. So yeah, I was going to be here for 3 weeks, and then so graciously they've let me stay. So it's a beautiful little studio apartment really above a cafe that's painted in floral delight by Nastia Aglu. I think that's how you say her name. She's a Blue Mountains artist, and she was commissioned to come in and paint the outside. So I literally feel like I live in a flower.
Like an art space?
That's pretty special, yeah.
Yeah.
So the actual space itself is my workspace. So I just have it set up as a studio, and I don't need a TV or anything like that in lounge rooms. So I've just got my bed, my cat, and my clothes.
Does it inspire creativity?
Absolutely. I mean, my God, the simple life. Releasing yourself from a lot of material objects around you makes you look a lot more within, I think.
You're doing that deliberately?
Look, it happened because obviously I said goodbye to my previous life and had released myself from a lot of objects that I had, and being of age now, like I had collected.
Stop it.
Stop it. No, I'm proud, loud and proud. My God, that's not a negative. I'm just saying that there's been a few birthdays, so I somehow had managed to get 4 potato mashers, and like a ridiculous amount of like bed linen, and it just became this idea that you have these things in this lovely house, and the beautiful car, and I loved it. I had I have a daughter, so I had to look after her and giving her the beautiful things, even though it wasn't like expensive necessarily. I'm not talking about that, but all the things you need. So releasing myself and going off to America to live my dream and set the brand up over there was just something really special to release. Even my suitcase became a bit cumbersome when I was over there. I was like, I need a jean, a high heel, a white t-shirt, a red lipstick, and a couple of pairs of shoes, and I'm off.
Which is interesting for a fashion designer, because I guess the obvious association would be you must have a lot of clothes.
I have reaccumulated a lot of clothes. And the thing is, like, each piece is so special to me. I've got a shirt in there that I've had for 25 years that I still wear, that I bought for $2. Do you know what I'm saying? And look, I'll work with that with, a special piece, but
What makes that shirt timeless?
it's not a trend. It's not a fashion trend, and I think that's really realistically what my fashion label is based on, is that it's not necessarily following fads from around the world. And this is the idea of fast fashion, is, that you're constantly changing, you're constantly consumer consumed. I think that's quite an interesting term, which I just coined myself. Thank you. But that's something that, you're constantly being taught and told what to create. And this is something that, if you're working with an agent, we need another collection. We need this by next season. We need it now. And so you're constantly in this cycle. And this is what they call fast fashion. Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a sustainable business model to not make fast fashion?
I absolutely feel like at this, day and age, people are really starting to think about what they're doing. I mean, just because I'm not doing fast fashion doesn't mean that I'm not making beautiful clothes that people want. And, again, I'm not, searching for the $1 million dream. I'm looking for a lifestyle that I can sustain my, healthy eating habits, drinking habits. And, my life's very different now because my daughter has moved out and, I'm just solo. So I can live a life where, of course I would like to buy a piece of land and I would like to, have property at some point, but, it's not the be all and end all, because I just feel so genuinely at peace by living a life of creativity. And
so that's a mindset that's evolved. As you've become older, you've realised how insignificant the need for those things are.
Yeah, I'd be lying to myself if I said, no, that's just always who I've been, which there's been an element of that to me always, because I grew up in the country, so I understand how the land works and I understand our responsibility with that. And I understand how, we can't saturate our earth with, plastics. And, that's something that's very, very important to me when I'm designing something, when I'm eating something, when I'm drinking something. That's the philosophy you have, on a daily basis. So the brand itself has evolved. Even with by Weave, even though Ukiyo is the sustainable model, by Weave I've always used, it's a high-end contemporary brand, but I still will use pure wools because I come from the country and I saw the sheep, and my mother's family had sheep, and so we understand how the shearing happens and where the process comes from. And there's wool and then there's silk, and I'm still utilizing beautiful natural fibers.
So you want to feel connected to what you're wearing?
Completely.
Do you think consumers are feeling the same way without knowing it?
Look, do you know what's really interesting is there's a huge contingency of the people that don't. And that's, I think, the education that we're going through at the moment is, it's our responsibility to teach and educate. And the more the designers and the more the bigger corporations get behind this movement, then we can educate the younger people that aren't quite listening. And I think, I was living in Bali for a little while as well, so I can really resonate with where you come from and what you were doing over there. But it's it really affected me living there. I just saw the way that the waste was being released into the waters, and the plastic situation there was very upsetting. And, the idea of if that country understanding that, throwaway things is almost like cool, if you want to use that term, because they're used to eating off of banana leaves. And so discarding a banana leaf into the bush, it's like, then their plate can get discarded in, but the plate's made of something different now. And so then this abundance of waste has happened because the mentality has changed. So, hopefully that mindset can go back to how it originally was.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to go full circle because I think they would look at foreigners with all our abundance.
That's right.
And
that's it.
then actually desire that because it was exposed to them. However, the way they're actually living is how us, I guess, Westerners are now trying to move towards. And
it's wild, huh?
It's interesting. It's like it's full circle. And the longer I live,
they know, they understand, they know how to work with the land. I don't mean they as another people. I just mean not Western mindset.
It's amazing. And it's funny. I heard some stories out of Bali recently. All the locals have had to go back to their villages and really focus on growing food. And they're doing this vast amount of seaweed farming now. So they're going back to the land because they've got no choice.
Well, I think that's really important because like what was happening over there with the, instead of building or planting rice fields, they're laying concrete. We'll be able to sell that and be able to build another hotel and build another cafe or restaurant. And so they started to rely on this tourism, obviously. And now, gosh, that's not going to work now. We have to rely on, we might have really messed that up. We need to, plant rice again or whatever the industry might be. So, it's full circle. And I'm actually really happy about it for countries like that are, less wealthy than ours and privileged.
Yeah, hopefully it's a positive to come out of it, But it's funny, like just to go on that a little bit more, like my mindset changed a little bit in regards to the waste in Bali because when you get out of the tourist zones and you go into the villages, they are still eating their nasi bungkus out of banana leaves and they're using their fingers and that's it, so like a large proportion of the country are not using like single-use plastics. They're really not.
Okay, and that's a really important point that I'd like to make. It's, we see this thing at the moment where, okay, so to all those people out there that are, you're taking your keep cup to the cafe, but you're still going to the supermarket to buy your plastic bottles. And it's like, but you're doing something, so that's great. But that's not my mindset. It's like we're in a position now where that's not enough. It's just not enough. And if there's this proportion of third world countries that are still in that mindset, that's still not enough. And, these people that are still buying plastic, you've got to take it further now. It's our responsibility to take it further.
It is.
So, yeah, that's my stand on that.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. It's just the best. And, I actually really believe that we are in a paradigm shift in regards to that globally. And I think I even read an article that there's going to be a ban on single-use plastics in Australia soon.
South Australia already has.
It.
Woo, that's where I come from. Yeah, loud and proud. That's something that's really, they're so forging forward with things like that. Yeah.
But I do think, like, for example, the example you used of using a single-use, like a keep cup and stuff like that, I hate to say it, and I don't want to sound negative, but I just feel like they're boutique solutions to a massive problem, and I think the real change needs to come from above.
And that's exactly what I mean. It's just not enough.
It needs to come from the leaders.
Yeah,
It needs to become in policy, but it's not really happening.
Yeah, but, as much as we say it's the leaders, but it is us individuals that can make the change. And if we all band together with that, then yes, we can make a change. So, don't underestimate the power of, the little guys, because it's going to take a little while for the corporates and the governments to actually, understand the importance of this.
Do you think the average individual forgets that they do have the power to make change?
Absolutely they do.
Do you think communities forget?
No. See, that's, I think, where the big power is, like when you get a community together. And, I'd say it again about the people that are running this cafe downstairs. I mean, they are just such community leaders, community gardens. They're constantly inviting people to come in and do pop-ups and supporting like a local, chef or, because they're just at home. Through COVID, it's been such a difficult time for so many people. So banding together as a community and having somebody that's being able to lead that and generate conscious idea and conscious responsibility and conscious togetherness, you know, and so, yes, absolutely. I think that we can do stuff together.
Conscious togetherness.
Yeah.
It's the best. I love that. Now, listen, I want to go back a little bit. You mentioned at the start that you're on the Central Coast. And just to clarify, the Central Coast of New South Wales in Australia?
That's correct.
Right.
I'm back in Australia in a beautiful place called Avoca Beach.
It is beautiful. And can you give us the backstory on why you had to come back? You said you're in the States prior to the, pandemic and the restrictions that came with that. So what happened there?
Okay, so look, it's a little bit of a long story, but
Be long.
yes.
Be long.
I have a 24-year-old daughter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, very proud of that. And single parent. So I've been independent creatively.
Do you mind if I ask, single parent for a majority of the time?
Yeah, she was 8 when we split up. Yeah, so I took her off to London and we've travelled the world together and, you know, had an incredible experience because it was just the two of us. And because I'd made the decision that I wasn't going to get a job and I was going to actually, you know, run my business myself and be there for her and not have to get, you know, babysitters all the time. And that's been like a really incredible journey for the two of us. So, that was, we were living in Bondi where she was schooling there. And then halfway through her high schooling, we decided that we'd leave the city and move somewhere else where I could condense the studio again and home situations. I thought year 11 was so important for that. And look, I was looking around. I couldn't find anywhere that was close to the city that was, you know, price effective, if we might say. And I just clicked the surrounding areas button on the realestate.com and this house came up. I was like, never heard of it, never been there. Well, so I just jumped in the car and came up and had a look at it. Didn't know anybody here. And just walked into this beautiful home that had water views and forest and mountain views and, you know, lovely bath. Here we go back to the things that, you know, we really don't need. But gosh, it was nice to have a nice bath and a view. And
so you just felt a good vibe, good energy.
Such a beautiful energy. So I just did it and just pulled her out of school and brought her up here at 15 years old.
Amazing.
I know.
That's well done, because 15 is a challenging time for a young person.
15 is a very challenging time for a young girl who's, you know, developing and, you know, might not
peer
have,
groups, friends.
Yes, there's a lot of anxiety based around it.
I might just get you to pick up that mic off the table if you don't mind, just because there's just whenever we lean on the table, there's a bang coming through it. But yeah, keep going. So it was like a challenging. I mean, how did she adapt to that?
She loved it straight away.
Did she?
Yeah, she fell straight into it. And I thought,
really?
Responsibly for me, I thought taking her up halfway through year 10, you know, then we could always go back if it fell to pieces. We'd go back and she could resume back in Bondi and we'd be, you know, none the wiser. But at the end of the day, she loved it. And so we ended up staying here for 8 years.
No way.
Yeah. And look, it was just wonderful because like I met the most amazing people, the, you know, incredible community that support, you know, which is so different to living in the big city, which I dwell beautifully in a big city, but I dwell very well in a country situation as well. And yeah, so we just, you know, loved it. And then she left the nest. And, you know, that's something that we can definitely talk about because, you know, you don't hear a lot of people talking about what happens to you as a single person raising a child and then them leaving. You know, that was a very, very difficult time. So I was here for about, a year and a half to 2 years, you know, just going through that very sort of dark time, to be honest. And then, I went to Bali for a while and then made the decision to go over to the States.
Now, firstly, there's a few things I want to strip back there.
I know, that was a lot.
I love it. And I love your openness and thank you.
You're welcome.
Firstly, well, like single parent for such a, like, well done. Like
Thank
it's
you.
amazing. But also, can we delve a little bit into like when your child does leave the nest, was it a feeling of heartache and heartbreak that you experienced?
Like you've never felt before.
Like worse than, say, breaking up with a partner?
Way. Yeah. It's just something because like for me, I'm such a maternal person. Like I love cooking. I love, you know, the laughter and the kids coming over and the mess and the fighting and all the things. So when that's gone and that's stripped away from you, there's such a silence. And so all those things that I had.
Sorry, I can't believe you're saying that. Anyway, keep going. It's just really pertinent to something that happened to me earlier, but keep going.
Yeah, right. So, you know, having this beautiful stove and this beautiful kitchen and, you know, the beautiful view and all the things that I had and the 4 potato mashes, you know, who am I cooking mashed potato for now. And, you know, I loved having all the children coming over and laughing and, you know, and being up all night and playing music. And so this emptiness and this very, very silent space every day and in the mornings. And so no, it was, you know, very, very difficult time for me.
How did she cope with it, if you don't mind me asking?
She had a ball.
Did she go off to university? Or
yeah, so she got into Australian Institute of Music, and I've raised a very strong, independent, career-focused young woman. And, you know, she comes from, or her family come from a place called Burma, which is in huge unrest at the moment. So she's very culturally aware. She's musically aware. She's, you know, one of those women that I knew was going to do well in whatever she did. She's got a beautiful nature about her. So she got into the Australian Institute of Music and then, of course, got through the school and landed her dream job at a very cool music agency. Yeah, which then through COVID fell to pieces.
For her as well.
So she lost her job and career as well throughout that time. But she met a guy, and a beautiful, beautiful guy who's in the same industry. He's a producer and DJ. So, you know, she was having a wonderful time, and she came up as much as she could. But, you know, this is the thing about being a mother. It's, you know, opening the wing, allowing them to fly off, and then, you know, making sure that it will close again as soon as they come back and need you. So that was the process. And that's why I gave it nearly 2 years before I decided to take off myself.
Just to be available for her.
Yeah.
Do you think, was she aware of the heartache you were experiencing?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And do you think that was affecting her in any way?
I'm sure she made all sorts of decisions to come up as much as she could. And yeah, I just feel like that's something that, you know, people don't really talk about, that stage of existence. You know, it's like aging as a woman. It's, you know, there's these really sort of fragile topics that you're supposed to just get on with it and do it and be strong and head forth. But, you know, it really does turn you upside down.
Man, I think about it because I have a daughter myself. And I guess you become, for me personally, I can't speak for you obviously, but I just feel myself becoming so emotionally enmeshed with her. Like when she feels an emotion, like I feel it as much. Like,
yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
she beat me at last night, and she was so happy. And even though I lost, like I was so happy too. You know?
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, I've said this to numerous friends who don't have kids. I was like, you really just do not understand until you have your own kids. I mean, I thought I understood until I had them. It just changes. And I personally think there's like this part of your brain that gets reserved for when you have a children, this new level of love that you, then it's released like it's a new chemical. I mean, it's all cliche. We all know this, but it's just like, yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, Dan, like just to harp on that a little bit more, like what were you doing to support yourself through that challenging time when your daughter left?
Sure, anything and everything that was to do with my industry.
Did you just throw yourself into your work and your creative process?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm talking about, you know, making tablecloths for nightclubs.
Really?
Look, I'm telling you, I'd do
any work
anything.
that came your way?
Well, you know, everything for me was based on having the brand and working towards the brand. So I bought like a really fantastic industrial sewing machine and always had a studio set up. And so, you know, anything that I was making and I could be home and, you know, that didn't distract from actually, you know, building the brand. And, you know, then, you know, look, I was very, very lucky because I was immersed in the music industry. And my first label was actually an underground hip hop clothing label. So I was really sort of immersed in this.
What was it called?
Called Cyber Thief.
Cyber Thief.
Yes.
Okay.
So it basically in Adelaide when I was at boarding school when I was 12 and used to sneak out constantly and this couple of really amazing English guys had moved to Adelaide and they were breakdancing in Rundle Mall and I used to walk down and I just went, what is that? Like, who is that? I'm coming from country South Australia who used to ride horses every day, muck out stables and here's this like these fly boys and I was just completely and utterly, immersed and so hip hop kind of became my family because our family completely broke apart, when I was 12. So finding like a hip hop family because back then hip hop was about code and ethic and purity. It wasn't about bitches and hoes and money. It wasn't at all back then. It's a voice for the for the youth that didn't have a voice and
expression.
Yeah, exactly.
No rules
or
less rules.
Yeah, absolutely. And art.
Yeah,
art, music, and dance, and all the things that I was
You got into it?
100%.
Breakdance?
No, I
You were
became
a
the
big
clothing.
girl?
I was a big girl, but I was definitely like in the art and fashion side of everything, which is so funny because the fashion wasn't an element of hip hop.
No.
But it's a very important part of it. So I used to get asked to make stage costumes. Well, so actually Ice-T came to town.
I remember Ice-T. Yeah.
With the Power Tour. And so,
I think I even remember that.
So
Okay.
Ice-T came to town and some of my friends were supporting.
No
And
way.
So they said, would you make our outfits? And so, I made my first stage outfits then.
Great. This is a great
I
lead-in.
was 14.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, I don't write a lot of questions down, but that was one of my questions. So
Right.
at what point in your life did you realize you wanted to make clothing and garments? Was it then?
No,
Or
it was
had you
already. It was already because where I grew up in this little country town in South Australia. Like I said, I was riding horses every day, and I would ride my little pony down to the main street. There was an antique shop, a takeaway shop where you get a burger, and the Oakbank Weaver.
The Oakbank Weaver?
The Oakbank Weaver, and she was this wild old hippie, and she had long white hair, and she used to just travel around Europe with her camper van and just buy these weavings and bring them back. And I remember just walking into this, I was 3, 4, 5 years old, walking into this place and just looking at this woman going, you travel the world and you make stuff and you're so beautiful. And I was just, that was it. I was like, and your name's the same as mine.
No
Yeah.
way.
So I just knew very, very early on that I was going to be a creative. And it just, these things, they just come naturally to you. You just know in your bone. It's a gift. I was definitely blessed with a gift, and I'm so grateful
I can tell. I
that
mean,
I have this gift.
I can tell. I mean, I'm not a I'm not a fashion guy. Really, I like clothes. I like to look good, and I don't really know women's clothes, but I know what I like. And I think the stuff you make's beautiful. It's just, to me, I look at it and go, that's really beautiful. But it seems like it's to me, it's got this element of elegance to it. Have you always been drawn to, did you want elegance or did you want more functional?
No, I mean, the elegance side of it, I think, really comes from my family background. I mean, when we were very young, we grew up on a beautiful thoroughbred racing breeding stable. And so my father was the chairman of the race course. And, obviously I'm very much in disagreements now with that whole industry. But
You're exposed.
But that's how we were raised. You can't change that. And so mum was always off to the governor's, dinner in her beautiful 70s garments and also Adelaideans, apparently we're the free settlers of Australia. So I think there's an element down there of, I don't know, it's just a bit more English.
Gotcha.
In the way they kind of dress and the tailoring and also the climate. It's very cold. So that's why you get a lot of tailoring, a lot of beautiful wool jumpers and
I guess it breeds that. Interesting. Yeah, because I like I said, I had a look at some of your stuff online and I checked out all your social media, and I'm just like really impressed by almost like the art of it, especially when you've done, I forgive my ignorance, but would you say contemporary pieces for fashion shows?
Yep.
Is that what they're called? Where it's like, it's just a concept. It's not the actual thing that will go to production. Is that right?
So when I'm doing shows, I've done Hong Kong Fashion Week, I've done Australian Fashion Week. And so when you're doing that, you're just literally exposing your collection. So what I'm showing there are samples of, which you hope to go into production with. So that's what you're showing to try and get to go into store. So that's been the battle. If you don't have an agent, that's, a very difficult thing. But that's, again, going into more production. I'm slow fashion, so I never really wanted, global takeover with the sales, but you want some, and so that's been a bit of a difficult journey for me. Just managing the whole company and the whole process all at once.
Like because you're doing everything, like every aspect of it.
So I'm designing, pattern making, sample making. I will go into production if I have to on my machinery. I'm doing the social media. I'm doing the photography, the marketing. I mean, I do bring in amazing photographers sometimes, but a lot of the time I will shoot things myself. And one of my best friends that I've known since I was 18 is up here now, and she's an amazing photographer. So she's been incredibly generous with her time and skills to come and help me out with that. So it's I mean, you just have to do everything. Yeah.
I agree. Because then you can do it you can get it done the way you want it exactly done. Because you can never seem to quite translate.
It's like, I don't think it's a bad thing. So I mean, I do get to oversee everything. so it comes out super clean and super like aligned with my imagery and what I want to say.
But the byproduct is you work very hard.
I work all the time.
24/7. So you're living and breathing it. So that's what I want to know. Like, do you see it as work, or is it just your life?
It's just my life. And that's like your comment about my house. It's, I don't mind. I don't see myself as working at home. I see myself as living in my studio.
Like it's insignificant. It just it's a vehicle for you to create.
Absolutely, yeah. But, again, it's because, like, I don't want more children. My daughter's moved out. I've got this new space. And, I'm so blessed that I had her when I was so young because...
Really?
Oh, God, yeah. Like, just so incredibly lucky that
Interesting.
that I was able to do all of that stuff with her when I was still super active and super strong. And, and also the other thing about it is, as a young woman trying to be a business owner and get respect, it was very, very difficult. So I actually see it as a really beautiful thing to have the baby young, raise her so free and strong, and you don't mind not sleeping then. You're used to going out all night, so it's it's not like a big,
more resilient.
very resilient and much more active. So now at this age, I feel so much wiser and stronger, and the decision making that I have about running a business. I said this to someone the other day, and this was a really beautiful quote. All my amazing, beautiful mistakes. And, that's sort of what I base this on. It's like people go, oh, you made all these mistakes and, that's such a negative thing. But my God, like in this industry, in any industry really, as a business owner and director, like all those mistakes that leads you into understanding how to not do it next time, right?
Their power. I say it all the
power,
time.
yeah.
Like, I love it. I love the dirt. I love the dirt in my past. I love the dirt in other people's past. I guess I don't love it when people choose not to learn from it. I think that's when it's a mistake.
Interesting point. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing when you're going round and round in circles. And, that's really why the evolution of Ukiyo has happened because, really resonating in an industry that I really don't... how do I put this without being offensive? It's like it's an industry that doesn't adhere to some values that I adhere to, so I found that really difficult. A lot of the people in it are not necessarily supportive. If you're not, doing the right things, going to the right parties or et cetera, et cetera. So it's just interesting to create a brand that is completely ethically based. It's still very beautiful. It's a lot, less expensive. So it resonates with your general person on a much deeper level.
But it's on your terms in line with your values.
Yeah.
You're not like sleeping your way to the top. Is that what you're? Is that the
That's
point?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Let's just say it. Fuck it. Like that's what people like. Yeah, man. There's dirt in every industry like that. I guess, and I can imagine. I mean, it would be so competitive and cutthroat.
Well, it's just really interesting, like understanding that when the fashion industry, when you're a designer and you sort of have this idea that it's going to be so glamorous, and yes, you might be sleeping with the right people to get to where you want to go, but it's not like that at all. It is, you are dirty, pulling machines around, cutting on the floor, you're filthy half the time. There is nothing glamorous about what I do unless I'm, but then, the one thing that happens, once every couple of years for me is that, you're walking down a catwalk showing off with like the most beautiful models from around the world. And, that's this one moment of absolute, adulation for, I have that adulation for myself and what I've created. And I'm just standing there going far out, like this is the moment. And it's 3 seconds.
But do you look and go like the ideas that were in my head are now there on show?
It's wild.
I mean, similar to a musician, like they get what's in their mind gets translated through their music, and then all of a sudden other people hear that. That must be a trip as well.
It's a trip. It's a bit. That's the thing about all these amazing mistakes you make, and it's like, don't put anything on show that you're not super proud of. Don't throw things together really quickly. Put all the time and energy into something that you love. Just really care about everything. Make every single thing you do count.
Yeah.
And so that's been a really beautiful process. But, I'm interested that you talk about musicians like that. So through COVID, well, I've always been interested in music, but I've started DJing as well.
Rad.
Yeah. So that's been, really incredible outlet.
Hip hop?
No,
Because
no.
I rap. I rap.
You do not.
No, I don't. You know what? No, I've been known to rap.
I'm sure you could throw.
Yeah, I've been known to rap. Like, it has to be the right situation. Have to be like a rap battle.
Yeah, go on.
No, I won't. like back like when I was younger, maybe
Yeah.
drink like after about 20 beers.
Yeah, right. You thought you were
No,
really
I'm just
good.
kidding.
Yeah, but it's just been an incredible outlet. Because all I've ever done is fashion and make clothes and be creative in that sense. So, now that I'm being able to, put myself into a different realm has just been so amazing for my brain set and how I think and how I operate. And
You've kind of already answered it, but it was like, well, what keeps you inspired like in such a tough industry? But you've kind of answered it, like those moments where you see your piece on show.
no, that's actually not it, to be
Okay,
honest.
well,
Like
what is it?
that's one of the lovely benefits and one of the beautiful end results of something. But the inspiration of this all comes from being able to live a life of freedom and create and be happy. And, there's nothing, that I am going to die and look back and say, you didn't, pursue your dreams, be dedicated to your passion, live life to the absolute fullest. I love a party. So, I'm a Zen, I do yoga, I meditate, I do all the things that I need to do to have that balance. But gosh, the creative vision of everything and, the end result is living a life fulfilled because you can immerse yourself in all of it and find true peace.
Sorry, I'm just having a moment to myself here, Weave.
Oh, that's
Just because I
beautiful.
love what you're saying.
Oh, I'm glad.
And I just love that you're living your dream and not somebody else's. I say this all the time, actually. I mean,
But when you're a parent, it's tenfold, right?
what do you mean?
If you're a parent, do you want to tell your child, go and get a job with someone you don't like
Yeah, I know.
and do something you don't want? Because, it's just retarded.
But they're being told to do that. They're being told to do that by, everyone. I think I haven't done it yet. But, okay, I'm going to say it. Fuck it. The institutions that the kids have to go through in the public system, at least, is conditioning them for that.
Yeah.
There's very little opportunity for free thinking.
I mean, look, we're talking generally here. There are
Yeah, I'm
special places and,
generalising.
there are places around the world, exactly where you came from, the Green School and,
That has issues as well. But
I'm sure, yeah. But it's
but-
up to us. It's up to us. It's up
I
to
think it's
us
up to
to
the
lead
parents.
and inspire and support. And, that's something that I didn't have when I was young. I didn't have that backbone coming from a strong family unit, So, you, as a bit of a loner going through some stuff, it was really important that, I stuck true to those goals and look further and delve deeper into different philosophies, not just what we're fed.
But stepping out on a limb like that, were you able to provide the stability that your child needed
I think she missed out on a lot. I'm not going to lie.
in regards to what?
Financially.
Financially?
Things. I mean, she never wanted for anything that she didn't want for. So I guess what I'm trying to say is instead of, spoiling her rotten with things that were unnecessary, I spoiled her rotten with, I'm a great cook. So she got amazing meals every night. I've got, beautiful taste. So you've got a beautiful bedroom. You've got a beautiful home. I just don't really think you need much more than that. She had clothes all the time that, I can make for her. So, she didn't want for stuff. She didn't miss out. I mean, yes, it would have been lovely to fly her around to fancy hotels and stuff, if that
Would
was... Oh, don't mind a luxury hotel every now and again, Dals.
After a big night, room service.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, but that balance, and that's something that I've earned as a grown-up to appreciate as well. But I'm just as happy in a hut, on a beach or whatever. And this is what I'm talking about. It's just understanding, life in its fullest and as a whole and gravitating to all the things. And, yeah.
Have you ever been around extreme wealth? Have you ever been around wealthy people?
Absolutely.
And what are your observations?
Oh, some of them are some of the most beautiful people I've ever met. Because
What makes them beautiful then?
Because their energy and their essence. Some people can't help if they were born into wealth. There's a lot of, we've lived in London and, there's enormous wealth in London, and I've met many people over there that still use that wealth for good. It's not, I don't see people from wealth or not wealth. It's, it's based on human energy, what you do with that, whether you're a good or you're a bad person. I mean, that's the bottom line.
100%. 100%.
Full stop.
It is. Because I'm very much like you. I mean, I don't want to sound like a hard case because my mother did really well to raise me and my brother as a single mother.
Yeah.
And we didn't really want for the necessities in life, but we didn't have the excesses that some people have. And we always want to compare ourselves to them. So I grew up as a teenager and a young man, feeling inadequate in that way and driven by that. Yeah, but in my midlife crisis that I'm in, right?
Watch this space.
In my 40s, I don't know. Is it a midlife crisis? I don't know. I more than ever, I just don't give a fuck about that stuff anymore. I don't care about the cars and the houses anymore. I just really want to go back to exactly what you're saying. Like, am I leading a life of passion and fulfillment? Am I living my dream or somebody else's dream? And when you work in a job that in a business or corporation or whatever it is, that's not one that you created, you're living someone else's dream, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong. There can be a lot of significance in being a team player and like a teamwork makes the dream work and all that stuff. I get it. But I'm at a stage in my life personally, and I'm only speaking for myself, is that, I want something that's me. It's my own. I don't want to be someone else's.
Sure. And, it takes all to make the world go round, doesn't it?
It does.
We need the corporates, for what they do for, certain types of things. We don't need all of them, of course. We could shut a few of them down, but, it just definitely takes all of us to make this world go round. But, I mean, talking about like corporations and, it really is our job right now to make them aware, to shut some of that down. I mean, we're talking about China, which is one of the worst, manufacturers. And I think I've got some stats here. Yeah, I think they're 39% of the world's textile exports come from there. And that's actually outrageous for one country to be saturating the planet with 39%. But that's, the other, I know that 30% of the world's discarded goods and wastage all comes from the fashion industry. And that's something that just breaks my heart. So really, when we're talking about sustainability and having an ethical idea about, company, there's one thing about being sustainable at the moment, and I think that word's getting thrown around left, right, and center. And, there's a responsibility that we have now using that word because it's in the mainstream media now. We've got companies like Nike and, really big corporations that are using this word because they have to. And so they're saying, okay, we've gone in and we've got fair pay for our people. We're using, ethical product and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's, good on you. That's really great. And I'm glad that you're doing that. But my point is, and what I'm really driving into people at the moment, that's not all. What happens after the effect? So what we're trying to do now, especially with my brand, is because it's all natural, you don't want to leave landfill. So there's one thing about making it, but there's responsibility of what happens to it afterwards. All right. So that's my really big message at the moment. It's talk like what we were talking about at the beginning. It's taking it further. It's not good enough just to have a keep cup anymore. It's not good enough just to pay your workers well. That should be a God-given right. That should be the norm. It's what are we doing afterwards? We've got, this crazy landfill filled with 39% of clothing, discarded clothing, because it's made of plastic. Polyester is plastic. So you're buying this cotton poly t-shirt because it's super cheap, because they've monopolized this manufacturing around the world, and it's so saturated. It's in every country, and so there's no value to it anymore because there's so much of it. It's just not valued. So what happens? It gets discarded, and people are just throwing it away. And because it's plastic, polyester is plastic, and so it just sits there and just builds and builds and builds, and till that's just heartbreaking to me. So if we can kind of carry that philosophy into what we're buying and just really be thoughtful about it, buy something that is natural, because it feels good on you, and it's going to discard after, it's going to take a long, long time. It's not going to fall, pieces on your body, but, just think about what's happening afterwards. That's our responsibility right now.
Yes, Weave. Yeah. Yes. I mean, as you were saying all that stuff, I'm just thinking, how do you change the hearts and the minds of the consumer that would look at let's say like a $80 t-shirt that's probably going to be, it's probably going to last 4 or 5 times longer than something they bought from Kmart for $20. Mm-hmm. And then once they're finished wearing it, it can be upcycled in various ways. It can be handed down, and it has a timeless aspect to it. Mm. How do we change the hearts and minds of a consumer then to say, look, buy this, it's going to last you longer, you're going to get more wares out of it. Mm. how do we get that through to people?
Look, I think at the end of the day, again, it comes from the next level up. It comes from the designer, the owner of the company, the director. It's like, what are we feeding the people? So if we feed them, I mean, fashion, this is what it is. It's a trend, right? That's what people want to hear. They listen to you. If you tell them what to do, they'll literally do it. Like, of course you're going to say, this T-shirt is more expensive, it's better. It doesn't necessarily mean it is at all. It's just like, at the end of the day, you have to be really responsible about, what you're teaching and what you're putting out, advertising, marketing, all these, massive budgets that, all the cogs of this wheel.
Gotcha.
I feel it all just comes down to education of the people. So in schools, what are we teaching them? What are we teaching kids? How are we teaching them to, influence their own parents who might not have been, taught the right way. And so they have to, direct their companies in the way to listen to the kids to save the goddamn planet, man. Yeah. That's what it's about.
But I mean, I think a lot of it, I think it can come down to government regulation as well. So that stat you rattled off about China, dictating a 39% share of the clothing manufacturing market. I mean, can governments, put, restrictions on the amount purchased from these manufacturers or offshore producers? Right.
And, that's what I was sort of saying before about like absolute saturation. We're getting fed so many pieces from China, the manufacturing, great. So this stuff has no value. Right, because there's so much of it. But if there was some sort of government regulation about minimizing what was coming in so it had more worth and more value, there was less of it. And so, that mindset starts to change. So, yes, I think you're absolutely right. That there certainly should be. I mean, all the levies were lifted off of Chinese importing, so that sort of destroyed the industry in that sense.
Did it?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, because I know a lot of small producers and labels, they're buying from China as well, just because they need to survive and stay afloat, because there's no way they could get their goods produced in Australia for a price that will create an income.
Look, not all China's bad. Okay. I'm not ever going to say all China is bad. Like, there's really beautiful people there that are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just talking about a nation as a whole because of a history and obviously the stats that's coming out of that. But it's like any nation, any group of people, there's got to be good and bad. So, and I think that the younger generation are really trying to make change there. I mean, if they don't, they will be cast from society. Like, it's so obvious now what's going on there. Yeah. So, they can't pollute like they were. We're watching. We're watching. And so that government, I mean, unfortunately, it's a different structure there. But, I don't know if the UN, are doing enough. I don't know, if there are individuals that are able to have with that sort of power going in and doing enough yet.
Yeah.
I know that money still talks in those scenarios, unfortunately. But I mean, I see a change. I see a demand. I feel, again, what we were just like, the whole point of it was, the education from the younger ones that are moving through to change what's happening. And that's not far off, really.
Right. It needs to be instilled in them early.
Yeah.
So, like, your first, I mean, when you created By Weave, that was your first official sort of label?
After Cyber Thief, yeah.
After Cyber Thief, which I'd love to see. Like, they'd be like baggy jeans and shit. Like,
it was so sick.
Yeah. It was baggy jeans, like Keppas. Do you remember Keppa jeans?
No, because denim is a really hard thing to work with when you're using, it's got a lot of hardware on it, and it's heavy and it's bulky. And so I was doing a lot of like Flagirl tracksuits and
trackies, of course.
Doing a lot of tracksuits. It was quite a bit of synthetic then. I wasn't quite aware yet.
Nah, you're 14.
I was giving it a go, mate.
But you needed them to be slippery so you could slide on the when they do their butt spins and stuff.
But this again is what I'm talking about. We weren't educated at that stage. We weren't, aware enough. And now I'm like horrified at some of the. I'm sure they're sitting in landfill somewhere.
Education. Yeah, sitting in landfill. How fucking scary is that? Mm-hmm. From something you might have produced.
Mm-hmm. I know. So there's a lot of guilt involved in all of that.
It's interesting. I wouldn't be guilty, but I mean, like I said, education. It comes back to that. Would you say that By Weave was more high-end fashion?
Very high-end, very contemporary, expensive, tailored.
Okay. Well, my question to you is like, why is high-end fashion important to society?
Oh, look at him going deep.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I think,
sort of
again, it's fine, because I feel like creating those pieces and exactly what we were talking about before, like giving value to something. It's absolute, like these pieces are so beautifully tailored and fitted to your body. And, it's not about wealth. It's not about anything like that. It's about feeling really strong, beautiful, powerful. Like, you know, when I'm wearing I love tailored jackets, and I think that comes from being a horse rider and show rider. So I used to wear a lot of the like very English tailored jackets. So that comes through in some of my pieces now. But you know, it's the value in society having fashion and at that sort of level. If you're working really hard for your money, you've got some excess money, you want to buy something that's beautiful, that's going to last you a long time. I think there's value in that. Instead of buying, you know, 20 shitty shirts, you know, you're buying something that's going to last a lifetime.
But does that piece become immune to current trends? Like this is the question I'm building up to, is like, what makes a piece timeless?
Well, what goes around comes around, really. I mean, you look at 70s fashion. I mean, how hot is that right now? Like, and has been for years.
Has it?
Of course.
I was born in the 70s.
Yeah, hell yeah, me too. Absolutely. Yeah. When did you think I was born?
Early 90s.
There you go. Good boy. But yeah, so the timelessness of it is not trying to follow trends and fads, and you know, being timeless is like classical, elegant lines and
quality.
And quality. Yeah, you know, that's what I'm saying. Giving something value.
Yeah.
You know, not mass produced, like minimal amounts of these things. You know, if you're an individual, you don't want to see, you know, 100 people out wearing the same thing.
Gotcha.
I mean, I even feel like it's ridiculous talking about it. It's in this,
what do you mean?
know, when we're going through this like very serious time and this generational thing where, you know, we're so responsible for what's going on with the earth and, you know, the sickness and the COVID and the pandemic, all the things like, you know, and that's why I've sort of just pulled back on by Weave at the moment, and I will definitely be doing it again in some time in the future. But right now I feel a real sense of responsibility to do things that are ethically correct and
find a middle ground.
What do you mean?
Like so maybe not high end, but something in between.
But I think that's what Ukiyo is.
It's accessible, affordable.
Yeah, that's what Ukiyo is. Like, it's certainly not low end. It's beautiful quality pieces.
Gotcha.
It's you know, it's timeless, and it's
not fast.
and it's valuable. It's valuable. It is valuable. It's something that you'll hold on to and make you feel good, and you know, it's responsible, and you've you know, supported a local designer. You know, you've supported somebody that's
buy local.
Yeah, you know, it's that whole philosophy is you buy something from somebody that you're enhancing that person's life, you know, because they've stayed true to their craft. You know, that's the essence of what we're trying to create here.
How do you think your craft has evolved over the years? Because you've been doing it your whole life, and like, give me an example of how it's become more refined. Like, so I'll help you a little bit. Like, do you look at someone's figure now and go, like, look at the lines and how a shirt could be cut for them? Like, how's it changed? How's your mindset changed?
Look, I think it's not really what you're talking about. It's something different. It's like the evolvement, and where I've come from is from creating a fashion line to being able to work with incredible musicians and, you know, different rock bands, or, you know, individual, you know, incredible artists.
Yeah.
And so the philosophy of how I design has kind of, you know, changed over the years, like from doing hip hop and working with a lot of like b-boys and artists and rappers, etc., to, you know, moving into the more high end, you know, because they might have been starting to get married or, you know, or going on red carpets. And so the idea of changing the design process kind of evolved with age, because we were all going through it together. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, that was really special to watch, that evolvement from all of us. So, you know, some of the tailored jackets, they became more streamlined because I'm thinking, he's going to be on the red carpet, so I want that to look like really super sleek.
Gotcha.
You know, whereas,
or his wedding.
Or it's wedding. Yeah, I do wedding dresses and suits.
It could be maybe described as like the story of your garments are the story of your life.
Yeah, just weaving my way through life. Oh, damn.
That's what I'm going to call this episode. Weaving her way through life. I can't talk properly. I've been getting up at 4 a.m. every day. It's a long story.
Doing great.
Yeah, wow. That's so cool.
It's
been a journey. You really document. I mean, have you kept any of your old pieces from when you started out? Have you got anything?
Look, other people have bits and pieces,
Gotcha.
but I had to learn to let go. Definitely.
Why?
Well, I would have truckloads
gotcha,
things.
of course. Yeah,
like,
yeah,
my
yeah.
God, I've
Just
got
streamlining.
photos. So I've got a lot of all the photography I've kept, and a lot of people still have their pieces that they're letting their kids wear from back in the day, which is really beautiful. It's I do have a couple of specials, tucked away in places. My dear older sister, she used to buy a lot of my stuff and get me to make a lot of. She's kept it all. She doesn't let it go yet. I know, bless. Wedding dresses never sort of disappear. They're always around.
They are.
Mm.
Did you like school?
No, God, no,
Why?
I hated school. Absolutely.
I was just throwing it out there. I just had this feeling that you might not like school.
Absolutely hated school
Why?
because I don't do well in institution.
I can tell.
No, I went to boarding school very young, and
Boarding school?
I was out more than I was in.
Did you feel isolated?
Oh yes, I couldn't ride my horse, so I wasn't around my family. I used to take off every night.
Really?
Yeah, because I found music and hip hop and nightclubs, and they used to let us into the clubs when we were 14 in Adelaide.
Yes.
So yeah, we were very, very enlightened into the world of international music, and then electronica sort of started to find its way in, and it was just such a special time being in Adelaide then. Because it was I think it was very different and very unique to a lot of the other areas because we were quite isolated down there. Yeah. And so there was a lot of film that a lot of the government was putting into like the film industry and music industry. And we just had an eclectic bunch of people because there weren't many of us. We've got Sia that's from Adelaide, Benedict Andrews, who's an amazing international director.
It all culminated in the Hilltop Hoods.
There you go. They're a bit later. But,
Just kidding. I'm kidding. I had to throw that in there. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, they have the amazing music festivals down there as well. They have the Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
'Cause my brother lives there. I'm going there next week.
Oh, Charles. Yeah, interesting.
But it has that. I think also because it's a smaller city, it's a little bit slower. So people have time to be creative, yeah?
Definitely. And beautiful. It's so beautiful.
It's clean.
It's clean. It's beautiful.
Adelaide Hills?
Yeah, well, that's where I grew up.
That's special, man.
It's really special. Well, it didn't used to be wine when we were there. Yeah, it was all agriculture and sheep and horses and cattle and apparently back in the 1940s it was wine. And someone's just coming in, this isn't going to work. What an idiot.
It's not money. There's no money in wine.
No.
Let's do cattle and sheep.
Well, this country's not right. It's too cold because it's, it snows sometimes down there. Yeah.
Grapes like that down there.
Well, whatever type of grape it is. Yeah. So anyway, like now, God, he'll be spewing. He shot himself in the foot, didn't he?
Yeah.
So now it's just like, they're just littered in grapevines. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful place. So Mum's still down there.
Do you get there often? Get back there?
No, well, obviously with COVID, we haven't been able to go at all. I haven't been down for just before I went to the States. I went, so that's like nearly 2 years ago now.
It's heavy that it's starting to come to fruition. More and more people telling stories about I haven't seen this person or that person in at least a year now. For some people, due to circumstance, it's been 2 years or 3 years. Like I haven't seen my brother in 3 years, but I was in Bali for 2 years, but then COVID. So yeah, I mean,
it's heavy.
It is heavy.
So, but look, I mean, we're all trying to be positive now and to think beyond and try to put some things in place to, turn this around. Especially, we're so lucky here. We're just so lucky in Australia that we can all actively continue to run our businesses and live a fairly free life.
I agree. I mean, you said earlier, I'm a little bit, I don't want to talk because it's tough times for a lot of people. I'm a bit wary of talking about the importance of sustainability. It's not as a priority as much as, people being healthy. And you were sort of saying that. I mean, it is a priority and stuff, but...
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, I didn't say that.
No.
So you said more...
I think sustainability is a topic that should always
be on the table.
Especially through these times. Absolutely.
Sorry, excuse me.
That's okay. I just feel like that. I think the significance of not being excessive right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. That's
I think that's really important. I think that it's, we really have an ethical responsibility right now to, take care of things and look after each other.
Because that's the point I was going to make. I do feel now is a really good time for these conversations, but I'm actually hearing these conversations more and more everywhere I go, not just obviously on the podcast, but just even in passing, I think. Yeah, it has. It has that feeling of like people are just really starting to question the status quo.
Definitely.
And they're looking for alternatives because they're like, that's not working and this isn't working. So I really do believe we are in one of the most a magical times ever.
It's a magical time, and I think when I came back from the States, and I don't want to say got stuck here. I mean, that's kind of pretty much what happened. But thank goodness that that's what happened. You know, the mindset starts changing. It's like, so I don't have a car anymore. Okay, so what do I do? And instead of like, you know, the main thing and the main focus of work to get a car, it's like, well, do I need one? And so I just decided I didn't. So I built a raft instead.
Bullshit. I know. I've seen the raft.
So, you know, just creating something like just living upstairs from a cafe. So
I know you live near a lagoon.
I live on a lake,
lagoon.
yeah.
So what, are you like rafting down to Coles and stuff to get your groceries or what?
I have rafted. I canoe and I take the canoe down. Yeah, definitely. But I found a bike in the street. And so I either canoe, raft, found a bike.
You really do. You canoe to where you need to go.
I have definitely done that many times, yeah. I mean, it's a mixture between walking, riding your bike, canoeing, or taking the raft. Yeah, absolutely.
So
how rich am I? Yeah. You know, otherwise I would have jumped in the car, and you know, it's just like one of those things. It's like, how many necessary objects do we have in our life that we don't really need? And so now I'm hiring a car once a month to go to the city, go get my supplies, see my family friends, you know, go out, do something nice. And, you know, that's sort of like effectively cheaper than having a car. It's crazy.
Dude, you're an eco warrior.
I am.
Like it's...
Well, leave as little footprint as you can, and I just really feel like at this stage of my life, and again, we're only talking about ourselves, but I don't have to drop my daughter off to school. I don't have to pick her up and take her here and there, and this is the responsibility that other, you know, families, you know, they have to, you know, at this stage. But I just feel so lucky for me right now that, you know, I can preach and I can do what, you know, and follow through with what I'm preaching. You know, I mean, the raft is epic. That's something that, like, you know.
So describe the raft.
So recycled.
And tell us how it came about.
Okay, so getting stuck, and it was for no reason except that I was sitting here by myself in isolation, going, geez.
So good, dude.
And I had a beautiful wooden canoe before I went overseas. And so I was like, well, I want to get out on the lake. So living upstairs from the cafe, I decided to collect all the bottles. I found a pallet in the street, filled the pallet, then went and found all this bamboo and tied it all on. And next minute, I've gone and done the fashion shoot and created like a beautiful shoot on it, and it made the paper, which was quite extraordinary. The like local paper came up and decided that they thought it was worthy of a story. You know, just the idea of being stuck here and, you know, not being able to go back to America, and, you know, how would I go, and that idea of escape and recycling and regenerating, you know, the goods. So.
Yeah. And also, like, I mean, because you were using it, you know, for a fashion shoot, and it was a creative idea.
Which, like I said, it didn't start out that way. It just looked so beautiful. There was just no reason not to use it.
Well, it does. I've seen the photos you showed me. It showcases the area really. Like,
yeah.
You're sort of looking at, that could be like some exotic location
in
the world. And
we've got it all.
We are in an exotic location in the world.
We forget that, right? And now we're kind of seeing all these people from around the world looking at us for the first time as not the arse end of the world. They're kind of just looking at us going, you
Australia?
Lucky people.
Australia?
Yeah.
General?
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit. So you decided to move to the States a couple of years after your daughter sort of, you know, ventured off into her journey into the adult
womanhood.
world. Yeah, that's right. Good on her. Like, so was that to pursue more opportunity? Was it okay?
100%.
So where'd you land, in New York or
No, I'm
California?
in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've got many really dear friends that are there.
Same.
And it just was the next step, you know, from obviously, which is ridiculous, Bondi, Bali to California, I suppose. That's
there's a theme there.
I know.
There is.
I know. But look, for me, it was like, you know, I knew that I wanted to access the whole sideline of that coast, you know, from the city, because I'm just in love with city dwelling as much as I'm in love with, you know, country dwelling, because the artist movement that's happening in LA at the moment, or prior, I can't say at the moment, it's got sort of fallen to pieces. But, you know, this idea of like moving into these like underworld art residences, and, you know, a lot of the New Yorkers had come over to LA as well. And you're walking along the street in downtown and you've got all these old theatres that are completely fallen to pieces. but you can see this regeneration on the street, and then all of a sudden someone's polishing the tiles and there's scaffolding around it, and you can just visualize these women in their beautiful silk gowns in the 40s going to the theatre, and it felt so alive, and oh my gosh, I could just feel it, and I was like, this is where I belong, this is where I need to be. The access to incredibly inspired people, that's what I really loved. Having these, Uber drivers that, were amazing people in their own right. Oh, yes, I know this person here. Take this card. Let me introduce you to this person. I really find in Australia that tall poppy syndrome is very rife, but you get to a place like that where it's banding together for the creative good of everybody. And I just slotted into that, and just absolutely adored it. And so, yeah, my very dear friend lived up in Santa Barbara as well. So I got to travel up and down the coast by train, which I just loved because, again, yes. But again, just the people that you meet on the train.
Amazing.
It's just like on the general level of accessibility to creatives and what I could see for the future for the brand. And, doing manufacturing there. I remember going into the east side of LA and going to these factories that looked like it hadn't changed since 1949. There's freight trains going through and the people with the little peaky blinder caps on and all the telegraph poles. And it was just like I stepped back in time. And that's, the thing about America. You think it's like so forward, but it's still operating in a very old world way, which I really loved. I'm not talking about New York as future forward and all the rest of it, but, a lot of the manufacturing, going to the post office in LA and you can't tap a card. It's
What do you mean you got to pay cash?
they don't tap
Got
cards.
to write a check. I know you got to put your card in the machine.
Yeah, it's so wild.
Oh my God, that is old
I
school.
know. I lost my bloody card while I was there, so I couldn't tap anything going around to these, old world places.
Amazing. I'm just going to make an observation here, and I'm fully generalizing, but over the course of my life, I always personally seem to really connect with people from California.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. So in my travels and then, living and working overseas in various parts of the world and then even more recently in Bali, I just always seem to gel with Californians. I just kind of feel like that state of America I haven't traveled all over America, and again, I'm generalizing, just seems a little bit more, inspired and
well, look, I
progressive.
Yeah, look, I think it's very, very spiritually connected place with its people, its land, its water.
You think?
Yeah,
But
you
even
go
though
up.
they're really damaging the landscape there.
Of course, but they're not all of them. Okay, so
Gotcha.
if you keep going up, into the hills and the country, and you're going to find a really bunch of inspired people.
Yeah.
There is a movement happening there at the moment, and the schooling systems over there. You've got all the Montessoris, and my best friend that lives there at the moment, she won't do anything that's not sustainable now. It really is getting drummed into them because it is falling to pieces. They're at a really dire time. But I'm just talking about the people itself. When you've got that beautiful landscape of water, mountain ranges, and those mountain ranges there are just something else. And then you're going up into Oregon and places like that where spiritually you've got these redwoods and this connected, idea about how you operate. People think California or Hollywood or that's completely connected. They're very different places, actually. No one wants to spend too much time in Hollywood. It's fun to see, but God, you want to get the hell out of there really, really quickly.
Yeah, it's a tourist area.
Yeah. So, but it's such a big state, so there's so much more to find, and yeah.
And then you got San Francisco. It's still in the same state.
Talking musically, artistically, creatively, it's one of the most amazing places I've been to.
Yeah, same. I agree. And then again, in Bali, there was a lot of Californians living in Bali, and I worked with a whole bunch at this school. And again, some of the ideas and the concepts that they were raising with me just blew my mind, and has been the catalyst for so much personal change in my life.
Yeah.
And to the point where I've got, two friends that I literally speak to daily, bouncing ideas off one another, and we're best friends. And it's just okay, there's a theme there, because you said Bali, California, and New York.
No, Bondi.
Bondi, yeah. Sorry, and it's funny.
Bondi, Byron.
But I was going to say, Bali, California, Bondi, Byron.
Yeah.
There is a theme, and I'm like you, I like to be surrounded by that energy, that creative energy. And those places just seem like creative hubs from what I've learned people can disagree with that if they want, but
Well, people do disagree with that, and a lot of it is they say they're like when you're wandering, you're lost, and that whole philosophy.
Maybe I'm lost.
No, well, I mean, how lost can you be when you're searching for something beautiful and more fulfilling?
Thank you.
I think you can be much more lost when you're stagnant and, you have to stay in the same job and that responsibility. I mean, we're not all built like that.
No.
We're built differently, and if you want to wander around, then that's who you are, and that's what you need to do.
I sometimes wonder if being ignorant is blissful. I wish I could, because some people are very happy in just being like unconscious and satisfied with what they're doing. I don't knock that at all. They're not questioning things.
But are they ignorant, or are they just in their own space?
Maybe.
It's not necessarily ignorance. That's something that they believe strongly is how they can fulfill their world by being stable. Stability is something that I don't need. But stability is something that somebody else needs because, they may have little ones, or
you're right.
they might have anxiety, or we've just got to be very careful not to put our own ideals onto other people unless it's harmful. If it's harmful, then absolutely it's our responsibility, like landfill and deforestation and plastic, and that's harmful. So we shout as loud and proud as we can with that. But, it's, in terms of lifestyle, that's, super up to the individual.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. No, thanks for clarifying that. I'm just so glad we connected, and I'm absolutely just blown away with your passion and your desire, but also I love being around people that have just dedicated their life to their passion.
Yeah.
And I've met a few now, and there's definitely a commonality in there. Just I'm sure there's a dark side to it too.
Yeah, but I think it's not letting the highs get you too high, the lows get you too low, not getting affected.
Well, how do you manage that?
Oh, gosh.
Because, it's synonymous with creatives.
Well, look, I'm not even going to pretend that I don't go through up and down. That's absolutely normal. I mean, one day's good, one day's bad. It's just up to me to not let it, bring me down too much. And I've gotten down before. That's absolutely, especially through COVID, my God, and my daughter leaving home, and, but you always have something to look forward to. You've just got to have hope. Hope is like everything. I'm not talking about religious stuff here at all, I promise. It's like something to look, no, that's fine. But it's just idea about, design a new collection. Okay. If I'm not doing anything right now, design a new collection. What can we do to make somebody else's life better? It's your power. It's what you can create in your own self to not let the lows get you low. And also the highs, they don't last. They just don't last. So it's no point in getting a big head, because tomorrow you're going to be bloody on the floor with your knee pads and bloody chipped toenails, and there ain't no glam in that.
Chip toenails. What, from breakdancing? Just kidding. Yeah. Wow, man, that's almost like a beautiful way to end.
Yeah,
I'm so inspired.
I feel like I got to say what I really wanted to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing so openly and honestly. It takes a lot of courage, and I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Look, I mentioned this to you the other day, but I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause that they'd like to support or advocate for. It could be a charity, it could be a social enterprise, it could be a philosophy. Is there anything you want to?
Oh my God, of course. I mean, with all this natter and chatter about humans and what we're doing, I'd like to advocate ASPCA, which is the Animals and Abuse and Neglect. I feel like, it's our fault that this is happening. I mean, you've got a lot of space out there that they can't, survive in, and the abuse that, humans put onto these poor little animals. So that's what I would like to inspire people to start looking at the things that can't support themselves like we do.
ASPCA.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. And I'll put a link to that.
Thank you.
There'll be a link. There's a link to that in Weave's episode show notes, which you can find on terriblehappytalks.com. And also on the platform that you prefer to listen to this podcast, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Overcast, Google Podcasts, blah, 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 whatever works best for your device. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed, and follow me on Instagram at Terrible Happy Talks, and engage with me. If you send me a message, I'll write back to you most of the time if I can. Unless you're abusing me, I won't write back to you. And I'm sure Weave would be up for a chat if you've got any questions about the themes that she's raised.
And I think actually if there are any sort of single mothers out there that, are finding it really difficult to throw themselves into something creative or, just not coping, like that's something that I really feel very passionately about supporting. So yeah, feel free to reach me and I will help however I can.
Well, where can they reach you?
Probably by weave@gmail.com.
By weave@gmail.com, and I'll put a link to that there'll be a link to that as well, and maybe your Instagrams. Do you want?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, because I'm finding look, I acknowledge that Instagram and Facebook are the devil, but I feel like I want to use them for the right reasons,
And that is the best platform that I have at the moment because I'm not a big brand. I don't have PR. I don't have marketing. That's my ability to talk to the people. And I find it a really amazing creative forum. So, feel free to chat there. That's great.
Yeah, 100%. And that's my philosophy with it. It's like, okay, well, you can use it for evil or you can use it for good, and I want to do it for that. And so yeah, thanks. The other thing I wanted to add is I've got a gift for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. so
Girls love gifts.
Well, it's not here, so don't get too excited. But all guests that come on the show get a free pair of shoes from Indosole, our main sponsor.
I know all about the company, and oh God, yeah, and I'm so proud of what they're doing. And yeah, I mean, they probably won't buy at a grade very soon, but I mean, we'll wear them forever. And I think it's a really responsible way to create footwear and what they're doing in Bali with, the whole idea of manufacturing and they really have thought about the process and that's what we're talking about today, just really going back to the processes and being really honourable to what you're doing. So good on you in Seoul.
Yeah, and that's what I love about those guys. I mean, to the point where they had to actually create their own machinery for the manufacturing, a machinery that could, break down these tyres into a material that they can use, and I just think they're just advocating for, that direction in manufacturing. And I know for a fact that they've gone through hell with it, but they're 11 years in now and it's taken that long to find their feet. But yeah,
get it?
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Oh, God, man, I'm so...
All right, on that note.
No, not on that note. I've got one more gift for you. What? Don't get too excited, please. I get embarrassed. But I've got a little... I only give these to people that have been on the show, and you get the Terrible Happy Talks alumni... Oh, shit, I can't find it. You get a Terrible Happy Talks sticker, the circle logo sticker. And so that means there's only 102 of these in circulation. Actually, there's less because some of my guests overseas, I haven't been able to give them to them. But anyway, I only give it to the right people.
Thank you so much.
Just a little token.
I love
my
it.
appreciation. I don't know if it's biodegradable.
But we'll love it for a long, long time.
But thing is, it won't break down for a long time.
That's right.
That's the key.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're a legend. It's such a pleasure.
All right.